So I've just spent a bit of time with the Chris Offili work, Requiem. The Tate commissioned Chris to create an artwork for the North Staircase at Tate, Britain. It's a really unusual space, and for this alone, it actually makes it a really worthwhile work to see. Offili considered the significance of painting directly onto the walls of a public building, and he said he wanted to choose a subject that had affected us as a nation, that would kind of have a significance to anyone and everyone. The work is actually a tribute to the artist Khadija Say, who died in the Grenfell Tower fire. And the first thing to say about the work is that the space is extraordinary. This is basically the staircase at the back of the Tate Britain that takes you from the exhibition space downstairs to the main gallery space upstairs. And it did have a previous work there, but that work felt more like decoration. This has really changed the space. They've put doors at the top and the bottom so that it is like a separate gallery space. There's no exhibition downstairs at the moment, so the twice that I've seen it, I've had the space to myself, and I suspect this will change when the next exhibition opens downstairs. But it's been quite special to spend time in there just by myself. It's not the most obvious space to show an artwork. At the end of the day, it is a staircase with uneven walls and a little bit odd. But I think it does give it a kind of cathedral-like feel. There is a kind of height of the space here that probably doesn't exist anywhere else. Quite like this in the gallery, it feels like a sacred space, and it's totally appropriate for the nature of this work. We're shown one example of Khadija Say's work amongst the wall panels with information on the work, and I recognised this work and realised that I'd seen it at the Contemporary African Photography show currently at the Tate Modern. I highlighted it as one of my favourite works in the review that I did of that show. I hadn't actually realised that she died in the Grenfell Tower fire. Her photographs really struck me. They're contemporary photos, they look old and ancestral, and I loved how they were explicitly spiritual pieces, but with a beautiful fine art poetry, a balance that's difficult to do. These are contemporary photographs, but they look old and ancestral. These are the images as they're displayed in the African Photography show at Tate Modern. I think there's something about her work that looks otherworldly, and the work successfully makes the kind of difficult balance between explicitly spiritual work, but with an important poetic fine art content. Let's start by just taking the work at face value. I love that the work references Khadija's work directly. Given that she's no longer with us, at least in physical form, I really appreciated the reference to her spirituality in her artwork. The colours are really joyful, which in the context of the cavernous space does give the work a real wow factor. However, I'm not sure about all of the imagery. It's a little bit hard to articulate why I thought this. Perhaps it looks a little bit like a wonderfully illustrated children's book. Maybe that's the look he wanted. It's a fact that many school children will be up and down this staircase, and as a memorial to this terrible incident, it is very accessible for children. In the same regard, I do find the depiction of the fire just too literal. Perhaps poetry is less important than memorial here. But as a work of contemporary fine art, I'm not sure that it really works. I do think the work is an effective memorial, so I wouldn't want to criticise it too much. But the fact that it is called an artwork does invite it to be critiqued from a fine art perspective, and I don't think it works as well from that perspective. There's a 10-minute recording of Chris talking about the work and telling the story of how he actually met Khadija Say when they were both showing at the Venice Biennale. It was only a brief connection that they made, but it does give the work a real poignancy. Don't miss this if you go to see the work. I think it can also be listened to on the Tate Britain website. I'm really sad that Khadija died in this tragedy, and I really like that this tribute has been made to her. It's definitely worth looking in on it if you're visiting Tate Britain. Thanks for watching. See you next time.